Why does it sometimes feel like in life we keep running into the same situations and circumstances that no matter how badly we want to get out of, we stay stuck in them all the time? Why does it always happen? And why do we stay stuck inside of them? And more importantly, how do we actually get out of these loops and circumstances? To answer that question, let me tell you a quick story about the loop that I've been in the last year or so. A few months ago, I started noticing a pattern within myself that kept repeating. And this pattern wasn't really helpful to my personal growth. What would happen is I would hustle on some sort of project, whether that was like bodybuilding or working on like the YouTube channel or whatever it may be the case. So the pattern is that I would make a huge change. And that change could be, waking up earlier, starting a new project or trying to be more consistent in the gym, just some change that would actually make my life better. But then after a few months, what would happen is I would notice my consistency and my faith in what I was doing and the confidence and self belief I had in what I was doing began to decline. And eventually it would decline to a point so much that I would get right back to the old person I was, the old person that I didn't want to be. And that old person is someone who's basically like wakes up late, doesn't go to sleep on time, plays video games, skips the gym, forgets to eat sometimes, just always doing the bad habits and have no willpower to do any good habits. I would always slip into all the bad habits. And I finally noticed this because it was a pattern, but I never really connected the dots. Because I would always end up in the same situation, but I was never really clear on the cause until like a few months ago. So you may even be in your own kind of loop. It may be something with your spending habits. It may be something with, the people that you bring into your life, like partners, friends. It could be something like that. So in order to actually fix these loops that we constantly get into, we need to figure out the root of the problem. Here's a strange thing I actually noticed. The more aware that you are of the loop that you're currently in, the more destructive it can actually be. And I'll explain that here in a second. Because in my situation, I could clearly see what I was doing. I would see at the end of the day, I ask myself, what did I get done today? You didn't go to the gym. You just played video games. You didn't get anything done productive. You could have at least done something that could have gotten you further, practice some sort of skill, something. But nothing actually moved forward. So you wasted the day. And I would always ask myself, why is this so hard for me? Like, I clearly want to improve, but I can't. What's going on? So here's why it's actually happening. Your brain is not wired for success or happiness. It is basically wired for safety and homeostasis. Homeostasis is basically your body's way of keeping equilibrium. Your brain and body does not care if you're happy because your unconscious mind doesn't have a good or bad. What it really wants to do is just to be able to predict what happens next. So whenever you try to do something that is completely out of your comfort zone, your brain cannot predict what is going to happen next. So, for example, let's say you are someone who wants to be more social. There's a clear difference between talking to a new person and talking to someone you already know. You are not as nervous to speak to someone that you already know. You having like data from the past and you having information from the past and past experiences. It's more predictable for your brain. But if you were to speak to someone that you never knew, you do not know what it's going to be about. You don't know how this person's going to act, what they're going to say. So your brain is going to be a little bit more resistant to this new person. So your brain is not going to be really prepared because it doesn't have any data. This is the same for all situations, new habits, new routines. So that's why it's really important for you to get out of your comfort zone in order to grow. Because any growth or any change is going to be seen as uncomfortable. But here's the flip side of that. The reason why it's so hard for you to escape bad habits is not because your brain is trying to like trick you or be evil or anything like that. What is actually happening is that your bad habit is seen as predictable. It's something that's familiar. So your brain always prefers the familiar and the predictable pain over the unpredictable potential pleasure. So if you're currently in a bad situation that you do not like and you want to get out of this, in order to actually change that and in order to actually move on from that, you're gonna have to go into what is the unfamiliar. But the beauty of it is that once you fully go into that unfamiliar situation and you fully commit to it, that's when the real change and the real growth actually happens. So what does this feedback loop actually look like when you try to change anything? The first thing is that you have motivation to actually change. Whether it's that you want to start saving more money and stop spending as much, or start a new routine or get a new job, you have a motivation or some sort of desire. And the second that you actually have this impulse of desire to actually change something, the first thought that commonly comes up is going to be that thought of doubt, whether it's going to work or not, whether it's worth it. Because what your brain is trying to do here is it's trying to save energy, and doubt is much easier because when you have doubt, you don't actually have to follow through with anything, and you do not have to fail because your brain does not want to fail, obviously. But success comes with its own responsibilities, and your brain knows that. Once you have that success, you're gonna have to follow through over and over again. But let's say you don't give in to that doubt. You try to go for it anyway, and you try to change a habit. Now, what happens is that you have stress. You're trying to change something, and you're on this path of discipline. You're trying to either stop a bad habit or you're trying to either start a new good habit. And it's stressful because you do not know what you're doing. You could fail. It's much easier to fall back into comfort, go back to the same habit, or go back to some sort of coping mechanism. And then you have guilt. And then you tell yourself, man, I can't believe I failed that. And then you restart. Now you get back into the same loop. Now you start from the beginning. And now your motivation is no longer going to be wanting to actually be a better person or actually improve yourself. It's to make up for the failure. So it comes really from guilt now. And now you are stuck in this perpetual loop. It's creating this loop of guilt, stress, and chaos to keep you in the same familiar situation. But now we need to actually transcend this. We need to get you out and break the loop. So, how do we actually do this now? What you have to remember is that you do not rise to your goals. You always fall back to your baseline, the emotional level your brain believes is safe. Also call it emotional homeostasis. And every time you repeat the same action, you are voting that you keep the same habits. And every time you repeat the same action, you are going to be voting for the same baseline or a new baseline. So, what you have to do is to reteach your body. You have to reteach your body what the correct behavior is. You have to reteach your body focus, peace, and discipline. So you have to reteach your body what is actually safe and normal. Reteach it discipline. You have to reteach it focus.
What I meant in that clip is not your actual body, but your nervous system and your mind.
You have to teach your body that this is your new normal. So the first step to do this is to have awareness of your loop. You have to catch the dip moment. When your motivation for whatever new thing you're trying to start or stop, when the motivation stops or you reach for comfort, observe what is going on. Watch that because that's very important. What do you habitually reach for? And that is going to be your baseline. And then what causes that stress? What is the thing that is stressing you out? Because under every self-sabotage habit, it's always something that is stressing you out that you are trying to avoid. So you have to figure out what that is first. Once you figure out what that is, now you have to redefine what you view as normal. If you want to start being more focused and stop procrastinating, you have to tell yourself, no, this is who I am now. If you want to stop drinking, smoking, or vaping, you have to tell yourself, no, this is not who I am anymore. I refuse to do that. Tell your brain. You have to command yourself to not do that. And you have to command yourself with confidence. And the trick about this is that if you are trying to start something new or stop something, stop focusing on anything in the future. If you are currently having some sort of urge to do something besides what you are actually trying to accomplish, you have to realize that the main thing that is stopping you from that is fear. So focus on only winning this battle. You may be thinking like, if I win this battle, I have to face the other battle. Don't worry about the other battles. You're only strong enough for this battle. The next battle will come. But if you can beat this battle, you can beat the next battle. And you can beat the next battle. And every single time that you win the battle that you are currently on, you get stronger and you reprogram your brain, which encodes your new baseline. So, in summary, make sure that you're aware, redefine what is normal, start small, don't try to make huge changes at once, and then reinforce that through proof. And now, here's a bonus for you. A lot of people think that we need to earn some sort of emotion because, really, at the end of the day, what we are chasing is emotions. We're chasing the emotion of happiness for when we get that car, or the emotion of happiness when we succeed, or happiness from this or this, or the peace from moving somewhere else. But you have to realize that what we can do now is just imagine that emotion within us right now. Because here's the thing, your brain cannot tell the difference between reality and imagination. You can literally create experience in your brain and practice that over and over without any evidence. You could just fully feel the feeling of happiness right now. So you can practice these emotions every single day through your imagination, which is very interesting. That's why meditation is so important. If this helped you, make sure that you watch it twice. And remember to really try to implement every single thing in this video. But that is enough for this video. If you enjoyed, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.